Congratulations, Marvel Decoded, you won the giveaway from last week, comic fam. We're talking about some hot comic books. Another week, another list, record breakers, comic books defining this generation of collectors. Hit the subscribe, slap the like button. We do a giveaway every video, and Gem from Gem and Collectibles start them out at the list at number 10 with some cider rack goodness.
That's right, baby. They call me the Gem of Cider Rack, and we're talking about Uncanny X-Men issue 12, the first appearance of the Juggernaut.
The origin of Professor X spiking up comics. We're looking at prices that have nearly doubled since the last record breakers. That happened this very year. Let's take a look at the numbers. The 7.5 up 42%, prior sale in August, selling for $2,640, and a new high at $3,750.
Then we have the CGC 8.5. This book sold for $3,700 back in July, and it's up 49%, now selling for $5,500. You know what they say, nothing can stop the Juggernaut, just like nothing can stop the inevitability that is Thanos back on the list, coming in at number 9 with Iron Man 55.
This Titan, the Eternal, born with the deviant gene. This is the first appearance, but also the first app of Drax the Destroyer. This is a collectible wanted by all. This is a villain that we grown to love throughout the multiple phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we got 3 record breakers to chat about. The 6.5 steadily climbing. Last record was set in July for $830, up 20%, now selling for $999. The 9.0 back in September was going for $1,900, and that's up 5%, officially hitting that $2,000 marker.
And then we have the 9.4. This book sold for $3,100 back in 2018. It's up 3%, sustaining that price, selling for $3,201.
The Eternals are coming. Deviants are coming. We've recently seen Thanos make more than one appearance in Marvel's What If. Have we seen the last of our Titan? I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I don't think it matters either. Clearly, Marvel's still not done with Thanos utilizing him in What If, and that Infinity Saga solidified him, made him such a household name that's going to give value to this key for years to come.
At the list at number 8, a book that has also maintained value and has had a steady climb amongst a rising tide of Marvel blue chip books. We're talking a DC book. We're talking one of the fan favorite characters. We're talking House of Secrets issue number 92, the first appearance of the Swamp Thing.
That's right, the first appearance of Alex Olsen. Now, when I used to deal in keys back in the day, DC Comics were always hard to deal with, except for this book. Everybody wanted the first appearance of Swamp Thing, and he's back on the list, showing that that's still true to this day. A CGC 2.5 sold for $700 back in October, and it's up 27%, selling for $889.
Then we have the 4.5 selling for $1,075 back in August. That is up 16% this week, selling for an all-new high of $1,250. Regardless of the failed show, all we have are the high hopes that we're going to see a reintroduction of this character in one of the HBO Max solicitations, whether it be the Justice League Dark, maybe Green Lantern, maybe Strange Adventures. We are crossing our fingers, but this book is still climbing.
You know, I never saw that show. Shame on me, man. A CGC 5.5, which sold for $1,500 in July, is showing that it's still holding that type of value with this 7% increase, now selling for $1,600.
As you've already mentioned, DC keys are harder to come by. They're harder to move. They're not spiking as aggressively as Marvel books. However, we have routinely pointed to DC blue chip keys as a strong opportunity for buy-in now. Let's take a look at some of the outliers of the blue chip keys that have spiked tremendously this past year.
All right, jumping into the first book, keep in mind, these are based on high sales, and these books tend to fluctuate, but nevertheless, a book that everybody loves, Batman Adventures 12, the first appearance of Harley Quinn in a comic book. A CGC 9.8 sold for $4,551.
And that was a direct market copy according to GPA. Recent 9.8 sales have hit as low as $3,000, hovering around that $3,500 marker. You can utilize the height information so you can accurately predict where these comics could go eventually. Just like Batman Beyond number 1, 9.8 leader this year for a direct market copy as well, according to GPA, is $2,750.
Then we have HAWKMAN 4, the first appearance of Zatanna, who's made this list before. We got a high sale for a CGC 9.6 of $20,000.
Not to be outdone with the first appearance of Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, Detective Comics 359, a 9.6 sale hitting $66,000 this year.
Then we have Batman 181, another 181 with a red cover. First appearance of Poison Ivy, a 9.6 high sale of $41,001.
Then we have Swamp Thing 37, first John Constantine. We have a CGC 9.8 hitting $2,550.
And lastly, we have Batman 313, the first appearance of Tim Fox, aka Jace Fox, who becomes the next Batman. We got an all-time high sale for a CGC 9.8 selling for $1,800.
These are the market leaders, considering that these have all surprised collectors across the board. Imagine what the price correction has been and will continue to be as members focus too much on the Marvel keys and let up the gas on the DC goodness.
Moving on to number 7 and back to Marvel with a recent key, the first full appearance of Riri Williams, where she suits up in Invincible Iron Man issue 9.
In that prototype armor, not just going to be seen on Disney Plus in her own series, but on the big screen as well. Key Collector found out, courtesy of insider sources, that Dominique Thorne, who is slated to play Ironheart, is slated for upwards of 25 different projects. She is set to become the next Iron Man.
A passing of the torch, if you will. They got to do something because Tony Stark is dead, so we have our next Iron superhero. We have a CGC 9.2, a book that sold for $204 back in April, is up 47%, selling for $300. Then the 9.4, a book that sold for $300 back in April, up 17%, selling for $350.
The 9.6 going for $450 in August is up 2%. Steady gains, but still selling consistently. We have a new high of $460. And I suspect is because that Turcotte variant is long gone in affordability.
Yeah, considering it's up 20% with a new leader, setting the bar at $5,975.
Comic Fam, utilize code TOM101 to support the show, but unlock a free 2-week subscription of the best comic app in existence. We're chatting key collector comics. And do yourself a favor and take a look at my favorite category on the app. I'm talking the randomizer. You click the button and it preloads 10 random comics from the giant portfolio of comics in the database held on Key Collector Comics. This is a great way for you to stay sharp, get more dangerous on the hunt, and expand your comic knowledge.
And you can stay ahead of the curve because we've talked about this book months ago.
Next on the list, number 6, Grendel #1. We're talking the second appearance and origin of the Grendel, Hunter Rose, and we have multiple record breakers. After the announcement that we are going to be seeing an 8-episode series hit Netflix, Matt Wagner fans rejoice. We have a 9.2 back in April. Could have been secured for $492, up 5%, selling for $515 this past week.
A CGC 9.4 hit the market, last sold in June for $424. It's up 89%, now selling for $800.
Then we have the 9.6 going for $400 back in 2018, up 93%, selling for $773 for the first time in comic history. And I suspect because the key book, the prestigious independent first appearance found in primer #2, has outpriced itself and is very difficult to secure in any grade. The last 9.2 sale is up 52% this week with an all-new high of $2,000.
Moving on to number 5 with some multiverse goodness. We're talking Strange Tales 115, the origin of Dr. Strange and Baron Mordo, the second appearance of Sandman, and the first mention of Dormammu.
The first time we see the words Hoggoth and Agamotto in the comic book. This is a minor key for Dr. Strange, an origin that tells us how he damaged his hands that would lead him to become the Sorcerer Supreme. It's a minor key, and it's climbing as we approach the movie. A 2.0 back in 2016 could have been secured for $128. That's up 56%, selling for an all-new high of $200.
A CGC 3.0 sold for $205 back in May, and it's up 61%, selling for $330. But that's not all. A CGC 6.0 hit market as well, last selling for $577 back in August. It's up 26%, now selling for $727.
At the list at number 4, confirmed spec, a character we're anticipating, Kit Harington, set to play the Avenger, the Black Knight. We have more minor keys as the first appearances outprice themselves. We're talking Marvel Superheroes issue 17, the first meeting of the original Black Knight, Sir Percy, and Dane Whitman, the Avenger.
Coming full circle with the meeting of the original Black Knight and the Black Knight that we'll see on screen in the Eternals, we have the origin of Sir Percy the Black Knight and the origin of the Ebony Blade and Ebony Dagger. A CGC 5.5 sold for $103 back in January. It's up 72%, now selling for $177. Then we have the CGC 7.5. This sold for $270 back in July, and it's up 39%, selling for $374.
Then we got the 8.5 going for $325 back in September 2020, back when no one was speccing on this book, up 58% this week, clearing the $500 marker, selling for $515. Also notable, as mentioned, the first appearance of Dane Whitman, Avengers 48, the prior sale for a 9.8 that was set back in February of this year, we reported a $16,000 height. Well, that was outdone with a new sale this past week of $21K, making these minor keys and these record breakers make way more sense.
You know, I mentioned they called me the Gem of Sidorak, but one of my other aliases is the Gem Pin, and how fitting. Number 3 on the list, we have Amazing Spider-Man 50, the first appearance of the Kingpin.
Now, we can all cross our fingers that Disney and Sony are going to work out whatever differences they have to allow the Kingpin to be introduced into the MCU at large. But regardless, we're still seeing rumors of Wilson Fisk possibly appearing in the upcoming Echo show. And we're seeing steady climbs for Amazing Spider-Man, as well as this particular key, regardless of the rumors that are present. We have a 0.5 back in March, selling for $161, up 211% this week, the all-new high of $500.
Some huge gains on that 0.5. The 1.0, which sold for $300 back in March, is also up 33%, now selling for $400.
That's $100 less than the 0.5. Clearly, the prices are moving so quick that they can't keep up with the buyers. The 5.0 back in July could have been secured for $1,260, up 51%, near doubling, selling for an all-new high of $1,900.
And moving from our street level villains to our cosmic villains, number 2 on the list, we have Thor 134, the first appearance of the High Evolutionary.
This has been soft spec for a number of years, but when Key Collector got word that High Evolutionary was slated for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, possibly setting up a narrative to give backstory and origin to Rocket Raccoon and introduce Galactus in some way. This is a character who has had so many ties in Marvel narratives to multiple characters. It makes sense that it's a safe bet, but this Silver Age book is pricey and these climbs are real. 4.0 back in March going for $150, up 63%, selling for $245 this past week.
And then a 7.5, which sold for $575 last week, is up 35%, selling for $775. That's a lot of 7.5s and 5.7s. And
That's true. And we also have an 8.0, last selling in 2019 for $660. And there were 2 record breakers, one for $1,119 and another for $1,140. And that's an 82% uptick in price. Comic fam, if you want to support what we do, hit the link in the description and join the mystery mail call. The October mail call is an active enrollment and 1 per box. We're sending out Ryan Stegman Throg to every member. Thor 18, the return of Throg. Donny Cates Goodness. Join the community and let's chat about the number 1 hottest book in the cosmos.
And we talked about him passing on the mantle. We talked about his death in the MCU, but here he is, number 1 on the list, Tony Stark, Tales of Suspense 39, the first appearance of Iron Man.
Yo, you talked about how Thanos has maintained his value in Iron Man 55 in this video because of him ascending the ranks of villainy, because of how the viewers embraced him and got to know him over multiple years of on-screen time. I think the same is to be said about Tony Stark, our Iron Man.
Yeah, for sure. A book that became a blue chip key because of the MCU. A CGC 4.0 sold for $12,600 in August, and now it's up 19%, selling for $15,000. The 7.0, which sold for $20,400 in November, is up 135%, selling for $47,970.
Now, although this isn't the scarcest 8.0 Silver Age Marvel key, there are only 8 different occurrences where this book has sold in this grade since 2017, and a total of 54 currently on the census. 8.0s don't come up often, and one recently did. Last selling back in May 2020 for $37,500, up a staggering 139%, selling for the first time ever $89,475.
Now, there's good reason why Tales of Suspense 39 is spiking like this, because a few weeks back, a CGC 9.2 doubled in value. It went from $72,000 to $144,000, and if we look at the numbers and how often these high-grade books come to market, it starts to make a little more sense.
There's a lonely 17 copies graded on the census in 9.2, and a lonely 2 have come to the market since 2017. Comic fam, hit the like, slap the subscribe. We need your support. And comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video. Do you own any of these books? Do any of these books make you want to spec on other books? Help your fellow members. It'll enter you to win a Lucio Parillo Eternals #1. As always,
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough said. We got 2 other videos for the community. Click either one. We made them for you. And go sub to Gem Mint over on Gem Mint Collectibles. He does a fantastic job keeping you informed with ongoing reading material, statue reviews, omnis, and more. Have a great week.